If you're going through the green card process at the moment and your case is stuck at the National Visa Center and you're wondering when will you get your final visa interview and what's happening, I'm going to give you a few updates in this video about what's happening with the National Visa Center at the moment, key takeaways that we got from the National Visa Center. I'm going to talk about how to communicate with them right now, some new updates. We'll talk about immigrant visa scheduling for interviews. We'll talk about some updates with expedited requests. We'll talk about how to transfer your case to a different post, most recent updates. And finally, what to do when your case is being closed by the National Visa Center. Most recent updates you're going to find anywhere on YouTube right here in this video. The National Visa Center is turning 30 this year, and last month they met with representatives of the American Immigration Lawyers Association and gave some updates about what's going to happen this year with a bunch of topics, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Let me give you some background about the National Visa Center now that they're turning 30. This agency that processes over 300,000 cases every year that are sitting there, only has 8 people working there on a regular basis processing cases. 4 of them are civil servants and 4 of them are foreign service officers. Only 8 people control this entire organization. But in addition to those 8 people, they have 700 government contractors that are actually processing cases, reviewing forms, and moving forward the cases that you are sitting and waiting for them to move to an embassy or schedule an interview. So they have 8 core people, 8 main people that are actually employed by the government, and the rest are 700 contractors. These same contractors run both the National Visa Center and the KCC, where the green card lottery forms are being processed. In 2023 alone, the National Visa Center received over 580,000 cases from USCIS once they approved and finished processing those cases and moved them to the National Visa Center. 583,000 applications were moved from USCIS to the National Visa Center. Out of these 580,000 cases, 80% of them were filed electronically, which is huge because that helped USCIS to process them faster and move them faster to the National Visa Center. 100,000 of these cases were filed hard copy, were sent by mail to the National Visa Center. Currently, the National Visa Center has about 1 million files sitting there in different capacity. Remember, the role of the National Visa Center is administrative. They're not deciding anything on cases. They're just processing them and moving them from USCIS, getting them ready for your interview at US embassies and consulates worldwide. Remember that. They're not making decisions. They're just an administrative organization. It's really important for you to understand that because I haven't seen anywhere on YouTube or online that explains that. So people need to understand that National Visa Center is an agency, a unique agency that helps make sure that your cases comes to the embassy or the adjudicating agency as prepared as possible. So this way you'll avoid any possibility of a 221G or case being sent to admin processing. Right? Now, let's talk about some of the updates we've received from the National Visa Center. Since I'm a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, I'll summarize them for you and pass it to you in this video. But before we do that, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to show this video to more people just like you. As always, if you need help with your immigration matter, you're stuck at NVC, you want to sue the government, you need help with your immigrant visa, all you have to do is send me a text, 619-483-4549. The number is right here. Use it, text it, and we'll give you the help you need. Now let's get into the updates. Update number 1, how to communicate with National Visa Center in 2024. Make sure you save this video and pass it to your friends and families. Update number 1, how to communicate with National Visa Center in 2024. Make sure you save this video and pass it to your friends and family. The National Visa Center eliminated all the email backlog they had by responding to people, the backlog they had since 2016, even going back as far as 2014. Currently, when you send them an inquiry through the public inquiry form, they will respond to you within 1 to 3 days. And that's been checked and verified. Remember, based on statistics they provided, they receive about 22,000 public inquiry forms per week. 7,000 of these 22,000 inquiries are actually sent directly by attorneys who represent clients. And 900 of these inquiries every week are requests to expedite the cases. Remember, 900 requests to expedite every week. Now, it seems like a lot, but if you think about it, if they have about 300,000 cases that they rotate in processing, it's not that much. Most people are afraid to try to expedite. Do not be afraid to try to expedite your case with the National Visa Center. It does work in some cases. Remember, people are asking, when will they bring the phone back where you can actually call NVC? If you remember, about 7 years ago, we can actually call them. They said they're not bringing the phone lines. Now let's talk about civil documents that you need to submit to the National Visa Center to make sure that your case is documented complete. Some applicants are not able to get a hold of their birth certificates or marriage certificates or other documents they need to provide. The National Visa Center will accept an affidavit of non-availability instead of the document that you're supposed to upload. You have to prepare this affidavit, explain why the document is not available, and upload this to the same place where you're supposed to upload the document. It's very important to explain in your affidavit what steps you've taken to try to obtain the document and why this document is applicable to replace the actual document you need to present. Remember, the more accurate you will be, the less chances you'll be sent to 221G for admin processing or investigating your file. So the whole point is to minimize that, but remember, it's better to upload this kind of affidavit instead of just not uploading anything and risking being pulled for the 221G request for more information. Let's talk about affidavit of support. This is specifically when you upload your documents with the DS-260. The NVC said under this most recent update that they will accept IRS transcripts as the most preferred form of evidence for your taxes. Remember, if you want to avoid the request for evidence, if you want to make sure you get documented complete as soon as possible, give them IRS transcripts. Now let's talk about expedited requests. Expedited requests still work and are being accepted by the National Visa Center. If you want to do so, you have to email expedite@state.gov. You must include your case number and the reason why you need to expedite your case. Make sure you have enough supporting documents and never ever submit a duplicate request unless 30 days have passed since you already submitted the first one. At least wait for results before you do it again. Even when NVC will recommend to expedite, they still have to get approval from the post, the embassy where your case will be adjudicated, and once they approve their emergency appointment, then you will have an interview scheduled. Well, we have more updates about immigrant visa scheduling. This year, NVC said they're going to make it the year of the immigrant visa. What does it mean? It means they're going to be focusing heavily on immigrant visas and trying to clear as many as they can to be scheduled for interviews. Just so you know, in February of 2024, NVC was scheduling interview for people to go in April. So you can see they had like two months lag from the time they're scheduling those interviews. It also looks like most embassies and consulates don't have as many backlogs except from the few that are problematic. I make specific videos on them like Islamabad, Mumbai, and Manila, for example, including also Lagos. Now, and the National Visa said that if you want to know and get an estimate on when you'll get an interview scheduled, if you're already documented complete and you have a priority date that is current, is by using congressional inquiry. Using your congressional inquiry form to be able to find out when you get an interview seems to be quite helpful in some cases. In some cases, congressional liaison officers were able to tell applicants more or less when their interviews will be scheduled. So each one of you have a representative in the cities where you live. You can reach out to them with the purpose of finding out when your interview will be scheduled if your document is complete and your priority date are current. This is something that many people are not really aware. You don't need to use your congressional assistant just to find out if there's a problem with your case or to seek help to push your case forward. They can sometimes tell you when an interview will be scheduled if your post will respond to them. Try that. In many cases, it does work. How does the interview schedule work? Well, first of all, each embassy gives their interview schedule every month to the National Visa Center. Remember, we're talking about 134 embassies and consulates worldwide. Every month they do so. Every month they give the National Visa Center the appointment dates for when they can schedule interviews for the next few months. The National Visa Center will schedule appointment for interview every first and second week of every month. Once they get the list from the embassies, now they're able to schedule those interviews. The NVC will send an email and a physical file to the post where your interview will take place. Finally, the interview is scheduled and you will attend your interview. This is the process of how they schedule the interviews, and like I said, right now, it really varies depending on which you post, which embassy, but remember, once your document is complete and your priority date is current, you shouldn't be waiting too long. If your embassy is reasonable and not subject to a backlog, you will be getting your interview within 2 months after it's assigned. Remember this, there are 134 embassies and consulates active worldwide, and only 20 embassies and consulates account for 90% backlog worldwide. Among those embassies including Islamabad, Lagos, Manila, Mumbai. These embassies and a few others are responsible for 90% of the backlog worldwide. So if you are part of those embassies, what I've just mentioned to you is going to be a little bit different, because even if your document is complete and even if your dates are current, if the embassy is backlogged, you might need to do other things to push your case forward. And we'll talk about it now. Transferring your case to a different post. If your post is one of those bad embassies and you really feel that you tried everything and you think you need to move your case to a different post, there is a way to do it. The National Visa Center explained what they expect people to do right now. You need to contact the post where you want to move your case to, get their permission first, and then request the National Visa Center to also designate your case to go to this new post. Now, before you do that, you must be able to prove to the National Visa Center that you can remain and enter to the country where you want your interview to take place, the new post. So be mindful of that, because NVC will want that proof now in 2024. Remember, if your interview has not been scheduled yet, you can actually start communicating with NVC. This is based on the instruction we received right now. You don't need to contact the post in a different country that you want to move it to. You can start with NVC first if your case hasn't been scheduled yet, okay? Then NVC can do the transfer for you without you needing to communicate with the post. However, if your case was already scheduled, then it's your responsibility to contact the new embassy where you want the case to move, get permission, and then notify NVC, and then they'll help you with the process. But if your case is still with NVC and not with any embassy, NVC has the ability now to switch posts based on your request, as long as you can prove that you can enter and remain in that country. Let's talk about NVC termination. Again, this is updates that we received right now from the NVC, and I'm passing it to you. Remember this, if you don't take action on your case for 1 year, the National Visa Center will terminate your case. What I mean by action, you need to check on your case at least once a year. Submit a public inquiry form or email the NVC. Both actions will work. That's considered action on your case, and they're not going to cancel your case. After 1 year, you can reinstate with NVC. If 2 years have passed and you have no action, your case is terminated, you cannot reinstate with NVC based on these new guidelines. What you got to do is you're going to have to get permission from a consular officer to reinstate your case. The NVC will not be the place to do so after 1 year. We covered a lot of good updates, and these updates, as I mentioned, you're not going to find them anywhere else on YouTube. These are brand new updates that we got from the NVC, and I wanted to pass them straight to you. Again, if you need help with your immigration matters, send me a text 619-483-4549. We're making these videos for you every single week. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you on the next one.